This is absolutely insane. You can now build entire n8n automations from a single prompt. There is now a MCP for n8n that connects directly to Claude that basically lets you write a prompt in like normal language and immediately get a complete automation built for you. I'm just going to go ahead and send this off and see what we get. Okay, boom. This is super cool. This actually works now. But check out the results. The results are actually really, really awesome. So here's an idea for like a brand new build. Develop a user management system to allow businesses to assign specific roles and permissions to their employees. Here are some opportunities for revenue. And then it goes through and it outlines the Reddit automations with the most potential. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to set this up. So by the end of today's video, you will be able to create entire automations just using Claude. If you're new here, hi, my name's Duncan. I've grown my AI agency to over $10,000 a month and sold my automations to thousands of customers. I help people like you start and grow their business using AI tools and automation. There's a couple things I want to make sure we cover today. One, why this is so crazy. Two, what the heck is an MCP and why you should care. I'm going to show you step by step how to connect the n8n MCP to Claude, and then we're actually going to use this to generate a complete automation from a single prompt. So if you're interested in building automations for yourself, your business, or selling them to clients, this is going to be the fastest and easiest way to start making money from AI automations today. Okay, so why is this so crazy? So before, when you were trying to build like automations, you were trying to build something that looked like this. And if you were new, it takes you a long time to figure out what each node does, how they connect to each other, what types of things you need to put inside of them. And it's kind of like a long, complicated process to get up and running to start, growing your business today. But now what we can do with these MCPs is basically we can just create like a normal prompt that says something like this is an automation for cold outreach, right? And basically it's just going to say like build me an n8n automation to get leads for my business and like research that company for me. If we can do that with a single prompt, imagine how much time we can save. So really quick, in order to understand this, you basically need to know what is an MCP. You probably hear people talking about MCPs all the time, and you're like, honestly, I have no idea where that is. Let me break it down for you really simply. Essentially, before MCPs, what you had is an AI agent calling a series of tools, right? You can see here we have a tool for Google Docs, we have a tool here for Google Drive, we have a tool here for Google Sheets, Google Calendar, and Gmail, right? These are all like Google-based tools. And if you want your agent to be able to like use any of these or like use any of these processes, you would have to call each one of these individually. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. I have no idea what that means, but here's what it does. Basically, what an MCP does is essentially will get rid of all of these tools for you. And then it just replaces it with a single tool like this. So now your AI agent can access all of those functions from a single place, and it is super fast and optimized. That's it. That is essentially what an MCP does. But why should you care? The main thing that MCPs allow you to do is operate at speed. And so what a lot of people will teach you about is the technical skills to building AI and automations. But if you want to have a successful business, there's actually a lot more to it. So really quick, I'm going to show you Alex Hormozi's Grand Slam formula, and then I'm going to show you how it relates to MCPs. So basically, this is the Grand Slam formula, and this is for sales, right? So dream outcome by the perceived likelihood of achievement over time delay and effort and sacrifice. So the idea is that if you're trying to sell a client on something, you're basically trying to sell them on their dream outcome, right? What are they hoping to achieve, right? And from there, you want to give them their perceived likelihood of achievement. So in essence, if you work with me, you're 100% going to achieve your dream outcome, right? And on the bottom, we basically want to increase the things on the top and decrease the things on the bottom. And so you're basically saying, by working with me, you will 100% achieve your dream outcome in less time and with less effort. And now with MCPs, you're basically able to pitch them on this with a higher degree of certainty. You're actually increasing your own perceived likelihood of achievement by being able to decrease the time, effort, and sacrifice it actually takes you to build these automations. So if you want to start selling automations today, you can now get set up more quickly and easier than ever before. Not to mention, you're able to deliver projects to clients like 10 times faster. The other way this is super, super useful is we are now in this like vibe coding era. It is easier than ever before to just like build apps or micro SaaS and start selling them and testing them, right? So with this, like the speed to market is increased like 100 times. It is crazy how quickly using tools like MCPs allow you to get up and running, to get building apps and to start selling and monetizing them. So if you're able to understand what an MCP is and start using them, you're basically able to take 100 shots at something. So what I mean is before, like you used to try one thing and you would try it for a long time. It would take a lot of time. It would take a lot of effort. It would cost a lot of money, right? But now because MCPs are so fast, you can try something and scale it super quickly. You could try the next thing. You can try a third thing, right? So you're able to build all these tools really quickly and test them out, test the market and see what hits. Now that you understand why this is so valuable, let's go through step by step, and I'm going to show you how to connect the n8n MCP to Claude. I do want to let you know that this does get a little bit technical. We're going to be using terminal, but actually it's not so bad, so don't be scared. So first of all, this is the GitHub repository where basically the entire n8n MCP lives. I know all these packages and stuff like look insane, but actually you don't have to worry about them at all. I'll leave a link in the description where you can find this. What's really great is this basically just gives you like an overview, like a complete guide of how to set this up. But we're going to go through it together today. I actually haven't done this before myself, so now we're really going to find out how easy or hard this actually is. So the first thing you want to do is you want to install Node.js. And to be honest, I don't know exactly what Node.js is, but apparently you need it to run JavaScript anywhere. So you're just going to want to come to the website, go up to download, and find your operating system. And then from there, just come down here and click download. And so from here, my understanding of it is you basically just need to copy and paste these lines one by one into terminals. So let's go ahead and try that. So I'm just going to hit Command Space on my Mac to open up Terminal. And I'm like not a coder. Like I don't really use things like Terminal like all that much. I'm starting to get into it more using things like Claude Code. And so let's just go ahead and let's paste this in. Okay, this is great. I actually already have this installed, but basically you're just going to go ahead and you're going to copy this request. And then you're going to come down to this line here. And so basically, if you're new to looking at code, like these things with like the hashtags that say in lieu of restarting, like these are just comments, right? This is basically just the system telling you what each one of these steps do. So you're just going to go ahead and you're just going to copy this one by one into terminal and just go down the list, and it's going to install Node.js for you. So let's copy this next line, and this is this next line. And this is just like verifying that this is installed correctly, saying copy and paste this, and it should print this, right? And then we want to verify the version. So I think we actually just need to do this. npm-v. And so just say 10.9.2, 10.9.2. Okay, cool. So we're basically set up with Node.js. That's step one. Next thing it says to do is we want to run directly with npx. We're going to try this fastest version. This says this is the easiest way to get started. So I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to load this up into terminal. Okay, and we can see here. Let me go ahead and let me just make this a little bit bigger for you. Although I don't think the font's actually going to get bigger. So basically we're just saying we need to install the following packages, the n8n MCP, okay to proceed, yes or no. And I'm just going to type Y for yes and hit enter. So you can see here, this is kind of working. So this is basically thinking through. This is going to install everything on your computer for you. And we're getting all this package information. What's great, this says, okay, the MCP server is running on Studio Transport. I don't know what that is, but we seem to be in a good spot. So the next thing you need to do is you need to download Claude for desktop. It is recommended that you have access to the Pro plan. You don't need the highest tier. You don't need the $100 or $200 a month. I think the Pro plan is like $20, but you want this because you want access to artifacts, which is where we're going to be building out all of our code. So just come in here, select your operating system, download Claude. You probably know how to install an app by now. And we have Claude for desktop here. So what this says is if we just want the basic configuration, documentation tools only, we can copy this. But what we really want is the full configuration here. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to come into Claude, and you need to install this in your settings. And the first place I looked was inside my account settings, but you actually don't want to install this in your account settings. You want to install this in the application settings. So come up to the top left and go into settings for Claude. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to go into developer. I'm going to go ahead and click edit config, and you can open this up in like a fancy code editor, but I'm just going to go ahead and open this in basic text edit. I'm just going to go ahead, highlight this, and paste in the details for the n8n MCP. There are a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need the API URL and your n8n API key. So let's go ahead and grab those. Now you're going to want to hop over to n8n. And basically inside your account, like this is the URL and this is your workspace URL, is everything coming before workflow. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this part here. And I'm just going to go ahead and replace this inside here. And now in order to get your API key, you want to come into your account, go to settings, go to the n8n API on the left here, and I'm going to create an n8n API key. And I'm just going to say n8n MCP. And this gives it access to everything. You can set an expiration date. I'll set this to 90 days if we want. Go ahead and click save. And I'm just going to click to copy this. So now I can come back in here, and I should just be able to paste in my API key here. And I'll just hit Command S to save. Cool. And so my understanding is from there, you basically just need to quit Claude and open it back up again. So I'm going to quit and I'm going to open this back up. So now that I'm in a new chat, I can come in here to the tools and you can see we have the n8n MCP installed for us. And this is all the tools we have access to. Documentation, information about all the nodes, everything about the database, all the essentials. So this basically gives Claude access to literally everything it needs to know about how to build n8n workflows. This is coming directly from n8n itself. So honestly, this is awesome. It was like a little bit technical, but honestly, it was pretty easy to set up. What's even cooler is if you scroll all the way down to the bottom here, the recommendation is that you set this all up inside of a Claude project, but they've actually given you this entire system prompt to make sure that you're getting the best possible results from the n8n MCP. This is super, super cool. Let's just look through this real quick so you kind of understand what's in here. This basically just says you're an expert in n8n automation using the MCP tools. Always start new conversation with the documentations to understand the best practices. Then the discovery phase. Think deeply about the user requests and the logic you're going to build. Here are the specific nodes and tools that it should use to do this. Here's how to configure a specific project. It wants it to validate before building. So actually check to make sure that the plan is working and then build the system. And then afterwards, validate the complete workflow once it's done and then finally deploy it. This is pretty cool. It gives us some more instructions for each of these phases. This is really awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this. And if I come back into Claude, I'm going to go into projects and I'm going to go ahead and click create a new project. And I'm just going to call this n8n MCP. And we can add a description if you want, but we don't need to. So I'm going to do this and I'm just going to set the project knowledge. So if I come into set project instructions, I can literally just paste this in, hit save, and we should be good to go. I'm pretty sure I can just start talking to this. One thing I'd be curious to know is which model of Claude we should be using for this. Claude 4 Sonnet is the default, but Opus is typically what's recommended for code and complex challenges. I don't know if it's going to perform better or worse in this case. Definitely test these out and let me know in the comments which perform better for you. Let's just start with the default just to see what we get. And so let's just try this out with kind of a simple automation to start. I'm really curious. An automation to scrape the Reddit subreddit. And let's do r/n8n for posts in the last 7 days. Then use ChatGPT to identify, and why don't we actually say top posts in the last 7 days? And then use ChatGPT to identify any interesting and unique automation builds. Then create suggestions for how we can enhance the builds. I'm just going to go ahead and send this off and see what we get. I'll help you create an n8n automation to scrape Reddit, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to say allow always. This is basically just saying Claude would like to use the n8n MCP tool, which is the whole point of this. So I'll help you create an n8n automation to scrape Reddit's n8n subreddit, analyze posts with ChatGPT, and generate enhancements. Basically, this is just saying now I want to use the search nodes tool. It's probably going to go through this a lot, like the first time you set this up, because it's you can see it's using the search nodes tool and all this stuff, which is pretty cool. And so I think we're going to go through and basically see how this performs. But it's really cool that you can actually see this thinking through everything step by step. So first, let me start by understanding the available tools and then design this workflow step by step. Here's the logic. So we need a trigger, schedule to run periodically, use the HTTP request to access Reddit API, filter and format the scraped data, send to ChatGPT to identify interesting automation builds, use ChatGPT again to create enhancement suggestions, and then store the results, Airtable, Google Sheets, or send via email/Slack. I didn't even tell it this part, where to store it at the end or to send me an email or a Slack. So that's pretty cool that it kind of thought of that on its own. This is pretty cool. I have a good understanding of the available nodes. Let me design the architecture. Here's the full workflow architecture. Here are all the key features. Oh, this is awesome. So questions before I proceed. So it could tell that there were actually gaps in my prompt, and now it identified questions that it should ask me. Do you prefer email or Slack for receiving the results? Should I include both technical and business enhancement suggestions or focus on one? Any specific criteria for interesting builds? Yeah, I was a little bit vague with that, right? So let me go ahead and say, do I prefer email or Slack? Let's see if we can actually link this up to my Slack. I have this channel here called #thebuildroom, and let's see if I can send it there. I prefer Slack to channel the build room. Should I include both technical and business enhancement suggestions? And I'll just say stick to business enhancements and any specific criteria for interesting builds. Let's just say builds with the most upvotes, because that's really what we're after, right? High performing automations will tend to perform well in other scenarios. Okay, always allow. I'll focus on business enhancements for the most upvoted builds and deliver results to Slack channel #thebuildroom. Let me proceed with building this workflow. Validating the key node configurations. Super cool. Okay, so basically it analyzed everything that we had going on. You can see here that it's actually creating the JSON code for it. So basically JSON is this format that all of these coding platforms are built off of. Learning how to read JSON is actually a really valuable skill the further you get into automation, because it's really the basis for everything that you're going to do. So this built out the entire automation. Now it's validating the complete workflow to ensure it's properly structured. One thing I don't know is if this is going to actually just like put it straight into n8n, or are we going to have to download the JSON and then import it ourselves? We'll find out. If you're interested in learning how to use AI and automation to grow your business, I'll leave a link in the description where you can join my community to get access to all of the workflows that I've built, word for word social media templates, sales training, call scripts, all the good stuff. Okay, cool. So this probably took about 10 minutes to do this itself, but it basically built the whole automation and validated it for us. So basically, we have the Reddit automation scanner. Here's an overview of the workflow. Here are the key features. Here are the workflow steps. Like, this is really cool. If you want to hand this off to a client or make any sort of social media post about this, like, you can literally say exactly what this does. Like, I'm probably going to use this as a lead magnet on LinkedIn. So it looks like it doesn't automatically put it into n8n for us. It tells us what we need to do: open AI credentials, configure Slack credentials, and activate the workflow. But I should just be able to go to download as JSON and go ahead and just download this. And if I come into n8n and I can start a new workflow, I'm just going to go ahead up to here, import from file, come to downloads, and select the Reddit n8n scanner. And I'm going to click open. And we got this error: could not import file. The file does not contain valid JSON data. So honestly, that's a bummer, but I want to show you that this stuff does happen. I think it's important. So I'm just going to come back into Claude and let's see what it says. And I wonder if using Opus would have actually made this better. I downloaded the JSON and I got an error on import saying it is invalid. Cool. So this claims to have fixed the JSON for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and download this again and give it a go. Download as a JSON, save. I'm just going to replace the existing file. And I'm going to come back into n8n, go to import from file. And boom, look at that. We have an entire automation already built for us. Okay, there was a little bit of troubleshooting. If you know anything about me, I will always tell you that troubleshooting is 90% of the job. So if you're interested in AI automation, be comfortable solving problems. Your clients are going to expect that from you. So let's see what happens here. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to connect my accounts. Literally all I have to come in here and do is basically connect these to my credentials like that, and I'm just going to hit run and see what happens. Okay, looks like we fetched some Reddit posts. Okay, cannot read properties. Okay, so it looks like there is an issue in this HTTP request. We're not actually returning any data. What I do know is that n8n actually has a Reddit node with this get many posts request. And so the resource post, get many, and then the subreddit in here. So I'm going to see if I can tell Claude to use this node instead and see if we can get a better result. So I just said this worked, but the Reddit HTTP request isn't returning any posts. Can we use the Reddit node instead for get many posts? So let's see, great idea. The Reddit node will be more reliable than using the raw HTTP. So again, the more you get into building automations, the more familiar you get with these tools. And if we had actually given Claude like a more detailed prompt in the beginning, this likely would have been able to one-shot this. If we had known that we wanted to use the Reddit node, we could have said like use the Reddit node early on, right? But what's cool is that this is actually going through the n8n documentation to read everything there is to know about the nodes, to validate the nodes, to get the properties and all of this. So it's basically going to just replace that HTTP request for us with the actual Reddit node. And so let's see if we can actually get this to work. Cool. This said this is now using the Reddit node. It made these updates and enhancements. So let's just try to download this again and see if this one works. Come back in here, go to import from file. Okay, cool. So this did switch this out for the Reddit node. So that part worked. Connected this to my Reddit account. This is pretty cool. It's limited to 25. It's returning the top post. We can now go ahead and change these if we want to do more or if we want to change the category. Top post is great. And I'm just going to go ahead and connect my OpenAI accounts again. Come in here and we have the build room connection. And I'm just going to go ahead and change the channel by name. I wonder if that would have worked. Yeah. Oh, I see. We just had to do it by name. So let's go back to how it had it. Let's try this again. Okay, return 25 items. We're off to a good start. It filtered them. Okay, getting closer though, right? So basically we can come in here and now we can see we've actually returned some posts. That's super cool. The filter has now processed these for the top posts. This is great. Cannot read properties of undefined. I got it. So this is interesting. So we can basically see what the issue is here, right? Basically, we have this ChatGPT node, but there actually isn't any sort of message that we're sending. And let me just check this other one too to see if it's the same situation. So we're getting closer. So I basically just said we're getting closer. There isn't currently any user or system prompts added to the ChatGPT modules. The OpenAI nodes have messages configured, but they're not properly structured. So let me fix the modules to include the proper system and user prompts. Okay, boom. This is super cool. This actually works now. I did have to have a little bit of a back and forth with Claude to figure out what was working, what was not working. Basically, what was happening is we were getting information from the AI analysis and the AI enhancement generator, but they weren't being passed properly to the final message that gets sent to Slack. So I had to instruct it to add this merge node here because the code node actually only accepts information from a single input, not both of these separately. So still understanding how these tools work is still definitely super, super important. On the other hand, if we had given Claude a more detailed prompt and kind of game plan to start out the project, we probably would have gotten closer on the first try. But check out the results. The results are actually really, really awesome. So this is pretty cool. So here's an idea for like a brand new build. Develop a user management system to allow businesses to assign specific roles and permissions to their employees. You can integrate with popular project management tools like Asana or Trello to streamline the workflow. Here are some opportunities for revenue, like offer a subscription-based model for businesses, partner with other automation tools, develop a marketplace for solutions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's super, super cool. And then it goes through and it outlines the Reddit automations with the most potential. So it found 4 high potential automation builds. So automate social media posting with n8n. I do this all the time. Check the community. n8n is a powerful automation tool that can be used to set our business potential high, uniqueness score 8 out of 10. And then it gives you some business enhancement suggestions. Introduce a personalized recommendation system based on the key insights. Include enterprise features such as integration with popular CRMs. Explore revenue opportunities through partnerships and collaboration. So that's pretty cool. Streamlining email marketing. Here's how to enhance this. Offer customizable templates for common business processes. Implement a chatbot feature for quick and efficient customer support. And it's also pretty cool because then it goes in here and it gives you the business potential and the uniqueness score. This one's 9 out of 10. So all in all, this probably took me about an hour to get this right. Honestly, I think I could have built this faster myself, but if you are new to AI and automation, this is a really quick way to get up and running. And I think we learned a lot during this process. So just to review quickly, we basically talked about why it's so crazy to be able to build automations with a single prompt. I'll let you know what an MCP is and why it's so valuable to getting clients and launching products. Then we went through step by step and I showed you how to connect the n8n MCP to Claude. And then we used Claude to build an automation that scrapes Reddit to provide high value automation ideas. My biggest takeaway probably is that coming up with a really detailed game plan for your initial prompt to Claude is probably going to be the biggest time saver and most beneficial thing that you can do. So maybe even before you ask Claude to start coding, tell it what you want to build and then have it create a detailed action plan for how to accomplish it. If you thought this video was helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, hop into the community if you want to learn how to start and grow your business with AI automation, and check out this video up here where I show you how to automate all of your LinkedIn posts with n8n. I'll see you over there.